Hi Yannick, how did you get into bonsai?
So when I had the age of 10 years old, I started with bonsai. I have a cousin in Denmark. His name is Peter Landerloos, who also practices bonsai. And that's how I started. When I was young, I got a little present, and it was a small lonicera that I got from him. So that's how my passion with bonsai started. Then I got some other small trees from him as well. So, and then I started to go to a club and stuff like that. So that was the beginning of my bonsai journey.
Did you also visit Japan?
Yes, I also visited Japan. First 2 weeks to try to work for Kunio Kobayashi. He's one of the biggest masters in Japan, together with Kimura. And I learned quite a lot there, and I was so happy to go there that I wanted to return back. So I returned back, and it was from September to December 2012. And I learned a lot about not only Japanese bonsai, but also Chinese styling, about life, about how you need to treat people, how you need to respect nature and the tree and stuff like that. So it was very interesting, a very interesting journey for me.
So Kobayashi-san was your first bonsai master you met in Japan?
Yes, yeah. Kobayashi-san was the very first bonsai master I met in Japan. Before I met other Japanese bonsai masters like Hotsumi Terakawa, but he lived in the Netherlands back then, and I also followed classes with Hotsumi. But in Japan, Kobayashi was the first master that I met and also worked for.
How did you manage it to learn at Kobayashi's place?
You manage it by closely looking, and by looking and by seeing what they do, you learn a lot. But also Jin-san, Jin Yasufumi was there. He was my senpai. So you have senpai and kohai. Senpai is the older brother, and kohai is the little brother who needs to do all the stuff that they tell you to do, actually. And he could talk a little bit English. So for me, it was a little bit more easy than other people in Japan, maybe.
Do you call Kobayashi-san to come to Japan?
Yes. When I was 16 or 17 years old, I had to give a demonstration in England. And it was called Joy of Bonsai in Bath. And there I met Peter Warren. And Peter Warren was also a dashi of Kobayashi-san. And when I had the age of 21 or 22, I was interested to go to Japan, so I already had some contact with Peter Warren, and I emailed him about the possibility if he could throw my name or tell my name to Kobayashi-san, and then I could try to work over there. First 2 weeks, and I enjoyed it a lot. And after that, from September to December, so it was quite enjoyable.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the last time you stay in Japan, or do you go back?
No, unfortunately that was the last time because of circumstances. And then I started to have my business here called Yama Bonsai Studio in Belgium. And I have done that for 8 years now, together with another occupation in IT, which I quit 2 years ago to do bonsai full time. And at the moment I'm enjoying it a lot. So,
is it hard to work in bonsai?
With bonsai, you have to maintain a lot of things, and you have to think about a lot of things as well. Bonsai takes a lot of work and takes a lot of time. So sometimes it's not always easy. But I would never trade it again for a job in a factory or a job in an office or something. So sometimes it's not always that easy, but bonsai was only the thing I could think of about doing from when I already had a young age. So for me, there is no other way than bonsai.
That's real passion.
That's real passion, yeah.
What was an important thing that you learned in Japan?
In Japan, we learned a lot of interesting things. To have dedication for bonsai and the tree, and to respect nature, but also to respect people, and to like, for example, when we had dinner and we took a bowl of rice, we had to eat every single piece of rice that was in the bowl, because one grain of rice, you can plant it and it can create more rice, you know. So it was very important to not waste any food, to be very friendly to customers, to respect customers. So when customers would come in, you have to be ready and go to them and greet them multiple times, tour them, let them feel comfortable. That were very important things. Also, when you had people from other nurseries, you had to greet them and be respectful to them. So that was very important.
When you got the idea to doing bonsai as professional?
Already when I was very young. I think when I was 12, I started to work for Jean-Paul Polmans in Belgium. And he is a Belgian bonsai professional, and I learned a lot at his place as well. And my parents never believed actually it was possible to live from bonsai, but there I could see the difference. So for me that was a very important aspect, and at the age of 12 years old, it was in my head to only become or do something with bonsai. There was no other way. And my parents tried to, because they think a college degree is very important, so I stayed at school and I got my college degree and stuff like that. And for my father it was in the beginning very difficult that I quit my job and would do bonsai as a full occupation. But now, because I do this for 2 years as a full occupation, he sees that it's starting to pay off, and he's starting to get happy with the way I live. So yeah, when I was young, I already wanted to do this. So.
It's more just pay the bills.
Yes, it pays the bills, and you can have a living from it, so it's no problem. But you need to work a lot of hours, and you cannot work from 9 to 5 with bonsai. That's not a possibility. Yeah. And that are things that people never see. They always see the fun stuff, and sometimes you travel to there or there or there, but they don't see how many hours you need to put into it. So, yeah.
What do you prefer, the Japanese or the European art of bonsai?
I prefer both, actually. Because in Japan there are different kinds of schools. You have schools with the flow that goes to the right, with the first branch going to the right as well. But you also have a school where balance is very important, and where the tree is very balanced. And you also have a natural school where deciduous trees are styled like very natural trees, like we have in Europe as well. But I think in every country you can have like a certain style or a certain aspect of bonsai, and people need to develop it more and more and more. So I think the tree will how do I tell it? The tree will give the direction you need to style the tree. Together with your creativity, you can make something so sublime or very, very beautiful. And that's, from my opinion, very important.
The Japanese techniques you learned, you also use on the European trees?
Yes, there are certain techniques that I use for European trees because they work for them. In Japan, they have thought very clearly about certain techniques and certain like how a concave cutter is made and stuff like that. So they have done bonsai already for ages. So, and their level is very high, but they still keep improving and improving and improving and improving. So, and that's something that we in Europe also do, and that's and outside of Europe as well, and that's very important. So we can use. What for me is important is that we try to use Japanese techniques, but also to look at the weather here and try to develop our own techniques, try to develop our own substrates, Like for example, in Japan they use a lot of akadama and kiryu, but here in Europe we use a lot of akadama together with pumice or something like that. So because the weather or the climate is very different. So sometimes we need to change our techniques a little bit to search and fit what's the best solution here.
In your shop I see many different kinds of fertilizer.
Yes.
And how did you feed your trees?
I feed my trees with different kinds of products. I also have like the FertiPad. It's a product that we developed ourselves. A lot of people like to use them, but it's because bonsai has a lot of maintenance. And I want to save time for people. So that's why I developed fertilizer and coffee round shade of pads. And it's only to save people time. But I also like abrakas or tamahi, and like every month I maybe could use something else. But those abrakas and those tamahi I also need to put in tea bags. So because it's very important for your for a soil surface to have oxygen and that you have particles, so that your roots can go through it and that there will not be too wet. So that's why we put the fertilizer in tea bags. But it takes a lot of time to do this. So that's why I also like to use the FertiPad. So tamahi, FertiPad, abrakas, fish emulsion I love to use as well. You can spray it on your foliage and you can you mix it with water and you spray it on the foliage and you spray it on your soil surface. So that are the things that I mainly use. Also BioGreen or algs. I try to use different kinds of things because in my opinion changing of dinner makes you eat, or how do you say it? So yeah.
Now it's winter time. How do you prepare your trees for the winter?
Okay, so what I mainly do is, depending on the species, or with a juniper I try to clean them a little bit, get nice a lot of air into the tree, like I did with this one. This one we're going to prepare for exhibition actually. What I also do is the top layer, when the top layer of akadama or the bardula is a little bit more compact, I try to scratch, and you don't see the particles, I try to scratch the first layer of the soil out of the pot. And also with a metal chopstick, or kind of a chopstick, I press air holes. So because we have a lot of wet winters, so I try to do this so that the drainage of our soil is quite good and that we have a lot of air in the soil as well. So that's what I will do, and I give it a new top layer of soil then. And then I also do a winter wash, so I spray with gin liquid together with water, depending on if it's a deciduous tree, it would be 1 part of gin liquid and 35 parts of water. And I spray the foliage and the tree, but you have to be careful with the soil. And that's against pests and fungus and stuff like that. And with conifers and pines, I use 1 part gin liquid and 50 parts of water.
What was your greatest success on bonsai?
My greatest success in bonsai, that's a difficult one. That I could go to Japan was one of the major successes that I was very happy about. Every day is like a success because you try to improve your skills and try to improve your trees. I have bought a new tree from Japan that comes in March or April, so I'm looking forward to that as well. So improving my collection every time. When you have a possibility to exhibit your tree at a show and people can enjoy your tree as well, it's a major success in my opinion. It's a difficult one because every time you have a dream and that dream comes out, and then you set a new dream, so it's difficult. It's difficult to tell.
So Yannick, many thanks that you had time for us and show us all the nice stuff that you got here. Thank you.
Jorg, also to you. Many thanks for coming into my garden and that you wanted to make a video about my trees and the garden. So I want to thank you a lot and we will see each other next time. So
Okay. See you.
See you later. Goodbye.